Yes. Welcome to breakfast. Just in case you didn't know, it's Neurodiversity Celebration Week, and we are celebrating on breakfast. It's a worldwide initiative, and it challenges those stereotypes, those misconceptions about our neurological differences. My next guest is holding an event here in Leeds aimed at helping neurodivergent professionals thrive at work. Steph Nelson, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. First of all, let's talk through this. What is the work that you do? Because you founded Neuro Creators, didn't you?
Yes, so I help organisations know how to support their neurodivergent professionals, but it's so much more than that. It's helping them understand how every brain in their organisation works, so that you can work with your brain to be able to thrive, to know what's your best work window, how do you communicate best. I'm a teacher by trade. Then ended up hitting burnout. That's how I ended up going into this, because I needed to know for myself, and I'm just so passionate about people having the answers that they need.
It seems like we've reached a point where there are more and more people at an older and older age as well, Steph, saying, I know that I am slightly different to whatever normal is, and maybe it's time for me to have some sort of diagnosis or go and find out what that is about. Yeah. And that is generally, would you say, a good thing?
Yeah, so I actually believe that you don't need a diagnosis. Yeah. There is absolutely routes where it's relevant, for example, with medication. And what I believe is it's more about looking at how you show up in the world, where your challenges are, where your friction points are, and learning to work with those. So for anyone who's listening today and thinking, oh, there's something that's not quite right, there's something that I want support with, I'd really encourage them to go back and look at what their day looks like and just have that reflection point, because routes to diagnosis can be quite challenging. In fact, unsupported ADHD costs the UK economy £17 billion a year. But if we learn how to look at what we are experiencing, that's where we can start to make real positive changes.
I think it's important that we are using the right language.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we talk about ADHD, when we talk about autism, when we talk about ADHD, are you saying that someone has that? Is that how
Not
you would
necessarily.
Say it? No.
So it depends on the person. The person decides on what their language is. So some people prefer to say, I have ADHD, or some people prefer to say, I am ADHD. Whenever you're opening up a conversation, and it's having an open and honest conversation, and if I could give everyone kind of tip, it would be to just be curious about what people are going through. We all have different life circumstances. We all have different ways that we were brought up. So it's just that curiosity, going with what that person prefers.
And being inclusive about it as well. Like, I think everyone's brain works differently anyway. Do you know what I mean? And that is such an important thing in any workplace. I've worked in so many places, and the more different kinds of people you have, usually the better outcome in terms of whatever it is that you're aiming for. You're really open about ADHD, to understand your own brain and how you approach work. What has that journey been like for you?
Oh, it's been a long journey, and this is the thing, it's not going to change overnight. Like I've just said, it's understanding those patterns. There's been parts that have been really confronting, there's been parts that have been challenging, but actually when I look back on it, it's such a beautiful journey. And you kind of in the mud of it, and you kind of, this really isn't making any difference, and then you look back 3 years ago and you're like, oh wow, I'm a completely different person now. Because there'll be some people listening today who are feeling really stuck, feeling like they don't have an answer, but I want to kind of that it does get better, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment.
Yeah, and also like your feelings and your thought processes are really valid.
Yeah, massively.
Bringing something different that who's not neurodivergent might never think like you, to their own detriment in many ways. In terms of getting that message to bosses, because that's really what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Who are employers, people who are in management, to understand that. That's quite a lot of work, that, isn't it? That like culture change you're talking about.
It is, and we're about to start an incredible project with Leeds Health and Care Academy, supporting all the health and social care staff across the city with exactly this. But I think in the workplace, it's looking at what is the task that needs doing, what is the need that that employee is experiencing. So for example, I use voice typing all the time. You probably can tell I like to talk. I really struggle to sometimes think of what to type. So voice typing is removing that friction that allows me to write reports at school or allows me to create my social media content. And what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And when you go from that lens and trying to see what is the joint outcome that you and the employee both want, then that's where you can be really collaborative. And that's what it is, it's collaborative. You can't put a reasonable adjustment in place for someone else. It has to be something that you work on together. It's probably going to be a trial and testing period. It might not work straight away, and that is kind of the process. But massive culture change, and I think we are going in the right direction. There's still obviously some work to do.
Yeah. For anyone who's listening this morning and they're listening and they know for sure they are neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Maybe someone who's listening who's not been on that journey yet, but they know that they do need like a little bit of extra help or just something changing. Maybe not even help, just change one thing and then I can do my job properly.
Yeah.
And maybe they're this kind of stuck in it. Do you have any advice for them?
Yes, I'd be really mindful of how you're talking to yourself and just kind of recognising those thoughts. So often the frustration that I see with neurodivergent professionals and people I support in coaching is that they feel like, why can't I do it like them? Why can't I be like that? Why can't I do it this way? But actually when we recognise how we work and then we remove that shame, the shame element's the worst part of it. And that's the bit that probably takes the most undoing. So it would be recognising those thoughts. And the biggest light bulb I ever learned was that every behaviour is to meet a need. So you're doing something because your body needs safety, it needs belonging, it needs love, it needs comfort. And when you kind of through that lens, it takes away a lot of the I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough and all those kind of things.
Steph, I could listen to you talk about this all day, actually, and see why you're always talking into your keyboard as well. It feels like quite calming listening to you. And thank you so much for being here and hosting the Brilliant Brain Blueprint at Leeds Beckett University on Friday. Thank you very much for coming in and celebrating neurodiversity.
Thank you so much.
I think it's important that we do. The wonderful Steph Nelson there, who founded Neuro Creators.